Hello, everybody. Welcome again to a sharp episode of the Playing On podcast. My name is Carl Markowski, and thank you for joining me. This is, I believe, episode 36, if I did my math right, which is up in the air because I'm not very good at math. But anyway, besides my mathematical skills, I want to thank you for joining me on the podcast. This episode, we have Mike Thompson from Charm City Paintball. I've been doing some stuff with him for the podcast itself, as far as sponsorship goes and everything. But as I got to know him, it was pretty cool because I started hearing little snippets of kind of his paintball story, and we eventually got around to doing a podcast. And it was really, really interesting, kind of hearing where he came from and his life story, and how paintball pretty much saved him from this whole different lifestyle. But before we get into that, thank you to our sponsors. First off, to Dr. Paintball, where if you go to drpaintball.com, excuse me, they have all kinds of things from new to used gear. They can help you finance any marker that you like. They have new markers, they have used markers, they have an about section where you can look up all kinds of current paintball events, and and they have a new thing coming out. I don't know too much about it, but make sure you keep an eye out. They didn't tell me much because it was still in the process of being made. But as soon as they get it out, they're going to let me know. But if you go to drpaintball.com and you order something, in the promo code section, make sure you type in PLAYON, PLAYON, and you will get a free gift from Dr. Paintball for all of the podcast listeners out there. So that's pretty cool. So thank you to Dr. Paintball. We are also brought to you by Charm City Paintball, who I have been mentioning from doing the podcast with Mike. It's pretty cool, his whole story and how he got into it. But Mike makes all kinds of awesome headgear, head wraps. He is collaborating with myself, and we are making pack bands, which you can find online. Just contact me or Mike, and we have all kinds of pictures and stuff that you need. But everything's high quality. Everything is, the stitches are super sharp. Everything is the patterns are awesome. Just make sure you hit him up over on Facebook. And I think, he has an Instagram too, so check that out. So thank you to Dr. Paintball. Brought to you by also brought to you by Carbon Paintball. You guys have heard of Carbon Paintball. We now have a CC line out, which is just the step under the SC line. And what we have on there is a glove line, a new knee pad. So if you don't like the whole full bottoms or the full tops, we don't have elbow pads out. We just have the tops still, but we do have the CC knee pad. We have the CC harnesses along with the SC harnesses. The big difference there is it doesn't have the air pump back support in it for the CC, but we have CC pants. We still have SC pants. We have CC jerseys. We have headbands, all kinds of stuff. Check it out, carbonpaintball.com. If you type in capital TPOP at the in the promo section at checkout, you will get 10% off your entire order. So that is pretty neat. That's all for only the podcast listeners out there. So capital TPOP in the promo code section. Just a heads up. And last but not least, brought to you by Planet Eclipse, the makers of the most awesome marker out there, the LVR, and a whole bunch of people have been switching over. I like to think that I was a part of that whole thing, but I think the new markers are coming out. It's gonna be pretty cool. I've heard some things. I haven't really heard anything, so I'm just trying to get the hype up. But anyway, LVR series, the LV series altogether, I am a huge fan. Make sure you check them out, planeteclipse.com. They also have all kinds of soft goods, as well as the G-Tech and the G-Tech frame, the mechanical frame, which is tits. Make sure you head over there and check it out. So, enough of my babbling. Without further ado, here is the Playing On podcast with Mike Thompson from Charm City Paintball. Enjoy. And you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
But yeah, I like your background with all your fabrics and everything back there.
You had to find a space to set up, you know?
So what are you just in like a back room?
Yeah, we converted what's a bedroom in our house is like a sewing room now. So right now everything's kind of pushed back so I can make room to have a little space to sit where it doesn't look so cluttered, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, how often are you putting together head wraps and headbands? How many hours in a day are you taking for that?
You know, it's not an every single day thing, although I get on tears where I get like ideas of things that I want to make. And so next thing you know, I'll be working from 10 at night to 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, just sewing, you know, seeing how things look. Something looks good, I'll make 2 or 3 of them, you know?
Yeah.
But usually I try and spend 5-6 hours at least during the week and sometimes on the weekend sewing, but I haven't really done anything since World Cup. You know, I've been real busy with my regular job. So,
which is a custom jewelry maker?
Yeah, I heard you talking to Mark about that a little bit. I design jewelry and I custom make jewelry from start to finish. So this time of year is just really hectic with the holidays, Christmas, and then
everybody's asking everybody to marry them, and everybody
Valentine's
wants,
Day, and then so it's a busy time of year, but it's good. It's really good.
Well, how'd you get into the jewelry thing?
The high school that I went to offered classes in jewelry making, and I took it as an elective, and I really liked it. You know, just kind of took naturally to working on little things like that. So after 3 years of taking that in high school, I went to a technical school afterward, and really mostly on the job training. You know, I've been doing it for 26 years now.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Now, do you own your own business, or are you working for somebody?
No, I own my own business since '99.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I make custom jewelry for other people, like for stores and things like that. If somebody comes in and says, you know, I really want to have something custom made, the store will contact me and say, okay, I need you to custom make this for me.
Yeah.
You know.
So do you do everything out of your house?
No, I don't do everything here. I don't keep like high value stuff here. Nothing. I do a lot of like the model making and computer work here. I have a fourth axis CNC machine that I cut out models for jewelry and stuff to show customers. So I do a lot of that work here at the house.
Do you ever think about 3D printing?
Yeah, I've actually been looking into some different machines over the years, but the cost is still too high. And the problem is that the printing media that they offer now, it works great for a model, but it's not really castable to make into jewelry because a lot of times the plastic resin, it just doesn't burn out well in the casting process. So to get a machine that really works well for that, you're probably going to spend $50,000 to $100,000. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow. Well, I was looking at one just to kind of, dick around with and have it on my desk, and that was only, I think that was only like $500 machine, but I'm sure that doesn't even compare to the ones that you're talking about.
Yeah, the level of refinement of the surface is so much greater on some of these machines. They move in such smaller increments, and it just makes the detail so much finer. But I guess, too, they offer a lot of variations of resin that you can grow your models in. So there's they're really cool. I've looked into it quite a bit because that is the future. That's definitely the future. But they just haven't quite got there yet. In the market I'm looking at, like I've been looking at a machine that's about $4,000. It's really, really nice machine, small, prints one piece at a time, but they don't have the resin quite right yet. So nobody is really able to take that piece and to cast it into the metal that we want.
Yeah.
But it's getting there.
Is it because the jewelry is so small and intricate kind of a thing?
It's really because the whole jewelry casting process is made to work with wax. So the wax, like I'm not sure if you're familiar at all, but when you take a wax model, what they'll do is they'll put it inside a plaster with a hole at the bottom, and then they'll put it in a kiln. So everything that's in there that's made of wax, after the plaster is hardened, it just drips right out, and it leaves a clean surface area and a very clean cavity for the metal to flow into.
Yeah.
But the new plastics and things, they melt at weird temperatures, and sometimes they leave a ugly burnt residue inside on the surface, and so it totally wrecks the surface of the model. So yeah, there's been a lot of refinement there, you know.
Stuff like that is really interesting to me because ever since growing up, I've always been a huge Halloween fan. I loved Halloween, and I've always been interested in how they made all the masks and the costumes and everything like that. So, like on Instagram and YouTube, like I follow all kinds of special effects played. Like that was one thing I wanted to do when I grew up. Was some kind of special effects, and watching them cast molds and make all these molds, and how they can take. There's I think on FX or the Sci-Fi Channel or something, there was like this monster show where they had to make people up into like monsters.
I watched it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I thought it was so awesome, and I can't believe that people can make some of the things that it's art,
Yeah.
And for me, it's my kind of art because I love Halloween, so it just kind of rolled into it. But somehow, here I am repairing pumps and playing paintball for a living.
Well, you never know, man. That stuff, the technology for that has come so far with these latex molds and the shaping, and they're reusable. It used to be the old ones they made, or like tear them off, start every day a new one, whatever for movies and stuff. It's just so awesome. Yeah, I think that stuff is very cool.
And even going into the Halloween stores nowadays and seeing the masks that they're producing, it's like, geez, these are like, some of these are high quality movie ready masks. I mean, they're a couple $100, but still.
Yeah, stuff that 10 years ago you would have only dreamed you could get your hands on.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Let's talk about your paintball career and kind of, because you're 45?
44.
44.
Yeah, close enough.
Close. And
same thing.
Yeah, you've been around the game for a long time, and you've seen its, almost its incarnation of when it was at its, its youngest, and you've seen it become the beast that it is now. What was your whole journey like? Where did it start?
Well, it initially started like just when I was 14. My dad got me a paintball gun. I wanted a paintball gun. My dad had to take me to go get it because I was too young to buy it myself. A buddy of mine had a Sheridan PGP pump, one of the old school with the CO2 in the handle and everything.
Yeah.
I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So I ended up getting a Splatmaster, and we used to just run around the woods playing paintball. But that was before face masks. That, like, we're literally wearing the plastic shop goggles that you would wear in wood shop in high school or whatever. And, it was just running around the woods, shooting at each other for a couple of years, getting into mischief and stuff.
Yeah.
But constantly upgrading paintball guns as time went on. And then in high school, I didn't really play at all, goofed off occasionally with friends. But after high school, I started playing pretty consistently with friends in the woods, taking paintball more seriously instead of just goofing off. I actually started playing with a bunch of people. And, guerrilla ball, just take your scuba tanks out to the woods and bring your cases of paintball and just go. And did that for a couple of years. And it was around that time that I started getting more serious about paintball. Like, I had been playing off and on that time for 10 years, and for a couple of years playing serious in the woods, just really digging it, getting hooked so hooked on just playing. And I was actually nervous to go to like a speedball field because I was thinking, oh crap, man, everybody there is going to be so good. I'm such a freaking noob. Even though I've been playing for a while, it was like, I don't know how to play like that.
Well, it's intimidating to a lot of people. And I think we've talked about this on the podcast. It's that side of it is super intimidating to a lot of people coming, that transition is so big. It's so big. It's not like, it's not like T-ball to coach pitch. That's still kind of, obviously you're getting a ball thrown at you, but it's you still have that same kind of feel. But this, I feel, it's going from something that's recreational to a complete flip to sporting athleticism kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I wasn't a kid when I was trying to make this switch either. I'm like 24 years old, and I'm still nervous about it, because at the time, I was playing with an auto mag, and you got guys walking around with these Smart Parts Evolution Cockers and Angels, and like
I was never a fan of the auto mag.
Come out.
I don't
really?
Know.
I think I liked how my friend in high school had one, and I always liked it because, he didn't have a front grip on his. It was just basically the pistol, and he had an 18-inch barrel on it. And it looked like so cartoon, like the longest handgun in history.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was the coolest thing. So I wanted an auto mag because the bodies are like really tiny, you know. But that's what I ended up getting. But I had like good gear and stuff. I just was nervous to do it,
So you had an auto mag playing in the woods?
Yeah. I had like the most pimped out auto mag playing in the woods,
See, that's so crazy because you think you would have, with having that gear. I mean, we all know it's not about the gear; it's about the player. But you'd think, being so accustomed to the sport itself, that the transition wouldn't be as scary. Going over.
Well, I had never played even on a field, like a legit sanctioned paintball field before. It was only like guerrilla ball, like a lot of guerrilla ball.
Have you ever played? Have you played sports? Did you play sports in high school or?
No, and that's the thing too. And we can talk a little more in depth about this if you want. But
absolutely,
I wasn't allowed to play sports in high school. I wasn't allowed to, no team sports, no competitive sports, no nothing. So for me, it was mostly solo stuff like skateboarding.
Elaborate.
Okay, I wasn't allowed
this is so crazy
because I was born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and taking part in extracurricular activities of any type. I don't care if it's the academic club, the chess club, the football team, cheerleaders. It's all frowned upon.
Really?
And absolutely. It's to elaborate a little more, it's a very, very close-knit society when you're a Jehovah's Witness. And you're basically told not to associate with people who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses. That's it. Like you may run into people, you may work with people who are Jehovah's Witnesses. You may know people from school that are Jehovah's Witnesses. They may be nice to you when you talk to them, but if you ever say, hey, you want to go get a beer after work, or you ever want to go see a movie after school, whatever, the answer is always going to be no, because they are really heavily discouraged from having any outside association from the group.
And that's just strictly because they only want you socializing with other Jehovah Witnesses?
As an adult, I can see it for what it is. It's a control mechanism. Basically it's fear. They tell you that people who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses aren't trustworthy. They're not honest. They're out for themselves. And this is like everybody in the world, like everybody who's not a Jehovah's Witness is out for themselves. They'll screw you over if you let them. They're not trustworthy. They're not genuine people. They're under Satan's influence.
And they're preaching this to the kids? Everybody?
Everybody. And as a kid, as a Jehovah's Witness, it starts from infancy. It's not like, you get to go to Bible school and the adults go to church. Everybody is in there, hearing the same stuff, So from infancy, you're going with your parents, knocking on people's doors, and you're going to church meetings 3 times a week, and you're spending that's your life, man. That's it. That's your life.
So your parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, or your family was?
Yeah, they all still are.
Yeah,
they all still are. No, I was born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness, so my parents were already Jehovah's Witnesses, and I have a sister who's a Jehovah's Witness still also.
Do you communicate with them at all, or?
No, they don't talk to me anymore. I am what you would call, technically I am what you would call disassociated. I basically separated myself from the group. I said, I no longer want to be a part of this group. I made it publicly known. And so now I am being shunned by my family, which means basically no phone calls, no talking, no nothing. If I called them, they wouldn't pick up the phone. If I saw them in a restaurant, they wouldn't say hi to me. If they'd probably leave if that was the case. It's pretty radical, you know.
Now, what was that transition like, or what got you to that point to where you felt like this just wasn't your path?
Well, it was really revolving around paintball. At that time, I was, I'm trying to think. When I first started playing at the paintball field, like on a really regular basis, I got started with a team with a group of guys. And so we had played 2003 World Cup together, a 5-man. Mm-hmm. And that was my first like big tournament. You know, I played local tournaments and hyperball tournaments and stuff like that, but that was my first big tournament.
Now, did your family know? Did your family know about? Sorry to interrupt you, but did your family know about you doing this?
Yeah, they knew I played paintball. Of course, my dad, he thought paintball guns were awesome. He's like, "Dude, this thing is cool." You know, really? He thought it was cool, but it was the part of maybe enjoying it too much, taking it too far. It's like you know, and then there's the whole other thing about, oh, it's a gun, which means it's violent. You know, there's that association to certain people. So yeah, there was a lot of obstacles to overcome with that kind of thing. But for the most part, no one approved of that. So I didn't really tell anyone. You know, I kept it to myself. But it got to be real serious with me because I had such a passion for the game that I started my own team in 2004, and we played a whole lot of events, and we played World Cup. And then, pardon me, I started getting heat from the people in the congregation about playing paintball. Mm-hmm. Because I had played with people that were in the congregation before. There were guys that I used to play in the woods with, but they were basically pressured out of doing it, told to stop. People that I was friends with weren't really allowed to play or hang out with me anymore because I was considered bad association because I kept playing paintball. But for me, I couldn't stop doing it. Like, right. Seriously, it wasn't going to happen. But I didn't really foresee the end of where it was going to end up at the time. And then I'm trying to think. I guess it was in like 2005. I was approached by one of the elders in the Kingdom Hall, and that's when he handed me this article that I forwarded to you.
Oh, that was from him?
Yeah, that's from a magazine. It's an older Awake magazine, which is one of the magazines that, you know, if Jehovah's Witnesses come knocking on your door, they're going to either have Watchtower or the Awake magazine, but probably both. And that was an article from the Awake magazine in like 89, I think, 1989.
So it's up
so
to
it was
date.
It was already a really old article.
Yeah.
So the thing that got me is that he was like, you need to look at this, and you need to, like, basically they're trying to pressure me or give me a guilty conscience into stop playing paintball, because paintball day is Sunday, man. You know that Sunday paintball. Sunday is also church day, you know? So I was for a while riding this line of going to play paintball and then cutting out early to go to church, or going to church early and then cutting out to go to play paintball. I mean, I was really burning at both ends, trying to do both things. And at this time, I don't want to say I believed everything, but I didn't not believe either. I had kind of like shut that part of the religion out of my mind.
So
I wasn't
were
really
you questioning your faith, kind of a thing?
At that time, I just thought everything was bullshit. You know, I just was kind of like angry maybe because people were pressuring me, because I'm a good person, man. I'm like, you don't have to be a jerk to me. You know, I'm not a bad person. I'm not doing anything bad. I'm not hurting people. I'm playing paintball. It's a sport. I'm with friends. We're having a good time. Mm-hmm. So the implications were that I was doing something wrong. And you know, I didn't like that. That wasn't cool. I was sensing that attitude from a lot of people. But when this dude gave me that article, man, all it took was one quick read to say, bro, every single thing that's in this article is wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. I was reading it, and I was, to myself, I'm like, Who wrote this? What kind of? It sounds like whoever wrote it has never played paintball before.
Right.
Has only seen it, and especially towards the end, it's like, wow. I mean, it's such a skewed way of looking at the sport.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's the thing. I had already been playing tournament paintball at that time for a couple of years. I'd played a couple of World Cups, and everything that they had described and had written in the article, I knew that it wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
But just to be thorough, I did a ton of research. And my wife, she laughed because I had a binder this thick
You did your
of
homework.
information and printouts. Yeah, we're talking about everything that was in the article, I did research on.
Yeah.
Everything. And at this point, I was just like determined to prove paintball is not bad like they said it was.
Right.
So when I came back to talk to this guy, I said, look, I got, I read the article you gave to me. I took it seriously. I did some research, and he didn't want to talk to me about it. He didn't even want to look. He wouldn't even look at one single thing I had researched.
So his source was the correct source, and he doesn't need to be, influenced otherwise.
Correct. And I really saw it right then and there that it was more important to follow the rules, even if the rules were wrong, than it was to do something right. Like the rules were the important thing, that I could clearly see that this was not a religion that had any sort of real spiritualness to it. This was just men and man-made rules, and just, it turned me off immediately, and I never really went back.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. But at that time, my parents and everything still spoke with me. It was just that I was considered irregular because I no longer attended the meetings.
Now, is that when everybody started becoming a little bit more distant with you? And
yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, they weren't really part of my world at that time, because paintball was really, that was my world.
Mm-hmm.
Really, actually, I'm going to turn off this fan real quick. Sorry, I'm
No.
freezing in here. Just 1 second.
Absolutely.
It's cold in my house, man.
So what's the big difference between, let's say, Christianity and a Jehovah's Witness?
I think the basic way I can sum it up is to describe what Jehovah's Witnesses believe in like a super quick overview. Mm-hmm. And you can compare that with what you know about Christian religions in general. Jehovah's Witnesses think that they are the only true religion, which most religions think they're the right religion. Otherwise, why would you belong to a religion if you thought it was the wrong one, right?
Even though there's thousands and thousands of religions out there, that Correct. One religion is the right one.
Yeah, and they're not shy about printing that in the magazines and saying that at the meetings, although they say it so politely in public. But yeah, basically everyone else is wrong. Everyone's interpretation of the Bible is wrong. Everyone is under Satan's influence. God will destroy every single human on the planet that is not a Jehovah's Witness at Armageddon, and that it's going to be, they are the only ones who will survive God's wrath. And by the way, that day is coming like tomorrow. Like, it probably should have been here last week, but who knows? It's coming like so quickly, you just better get ready for it, because it's on its way.
Any day now.
So it's a doomsday cult. Everything is about the future, how this world is ruined, how this world is under Satan's influence. People are bad. The systems of the world are bad. Everyone is out to persecute Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm being really I'm really generalizing here. There's a lot of real specifics because somebody could be watching this and being like, hey, he's full of crap. No, I'm being really generalized here with these. It's a really nuanced subject. But yeah, all in all, that's it. It's a group of people who believe they've got it right. They don't have to listen to anything anyone else says because they know they have it right. No, absolutely not. When you already think you've got the right answer and you're 100% convinced that you're right, why do you need to listen to anyone else? Mm-hmm. So, and having a conversation with someone who's a Jehovah's Witness is impossible, because you can't it's really frustrating. You cannot reason with someone. You cannot reason with them. It's maddening.
That has to be so irritating, because it's like having somebody on one side of the fence saying, "Well, my grass is greener," and it just is. And when I'm on the other side and I'm looking over and I'm going, "Yeah, maybe not. Why don't you look at my grass? My grass is pretty green." And the other guy goes, "Yeah, no, mine
Exactly.
is." And that frustrates the hell out of me, especially when you try and have a simple conversation with somebody, to just see their side of it and maybe have them hear your side of it, but they won't hear your side. It's so frustrating.
Right. And as an adult now, when I look at it, it's childish. It's almost like a kid who goes, no, 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 I'm not going to listen to you. You know,
Right,
they just,
right.
it's really super childish, because I have my own certain set of beliefs, and all the people I know have different beliefs than I do. It's a mix, but I can have a conversation about the most hot topics, you know, things that people debate about. I can talk to any of my friends about any number of these things, and whether we agree or not doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, but that kind of open dialogue is not acceptable with Jehovah's Witnesses. And as a matter of fact, if you start approaching a Jehovah's Witness, or if one knocks on your door and you start talking to them about things that they're not comfortable with, they'll just leave. They won't talk to you about it. They'll just leave.
I mean, that is just like you said before. It just sounds like a cult. But how many other religions out there that are the exact same way? You know, their way is right, and you can't simply have that, you know, that discussion of what's what. Well,
that could be true, I guess, with any religion, like you said, but there are major differences in the way they handle things. Like, you could be a Catholic, for example, and, you know, some people haven't agreed with, you know, this is like religion talk all of a sudden, but, you know, some people haven't liked the new Pope. They've thought that he's too liberal, you know, so there was, you know, discrepancies in between whether, you know, they think the Pope is too liberal or not. Either way, not everyone agrees, but it's okay. They can still sit down and talk to each other, and there's not like hatred or animosity between them just because they disagree on a subject that is a part of their religion.
Right.
But if you disagree with something, or even ask questions in the Jehovah's Witness faith, you could very well be kicked out for apostasy, and which is basically what happened to me, because if you speak out against the faith in any way, shape, or form, or even publicly ask questions, even privately ask questions, they don't like it, man. They really don't like it. And if you start talking about a subject like, let's just say, for example, there's a court case, and right now there's a court case that there was a huge newspaper article in San Diego, California. There was a ruling against the Jehovah's Witnesses. They're currently being fined $4,000 per day for not turning over documents regarding child sexual abuse in the organization. So and this is ongoing for like a year now. It's in the millions of dollars that they owe for this. And if you said to a Jehovah's Witness, look, there's this really interesting story about something going on in the religion, and it's in the LA Times, and it's international, it's all over, it's everywhere. Yeah. They would say, fake news, fake news. They said that is Satan persecuting us and spreading lies through apostates and wicked people.
That's such a cop-out. That's such a cop-out answer to me.
Yeah. So that's the frustrating part. If you could actually just have a discussion, because there's proof of a lot of things. Like, the reason I'm no longer a Jehovah's Witness is because so much of the philosophy and the prophecies in the religion rely on things happening at a certain date. And specifically the destruction of Jerusalem, which they say happened in 607 BCE. And, you know, just go to your local library, look at an encyclopedia. I found it by accident looking in an art book, totally not thinking about religion. I was looking in an art book, an ancient art book, and I came across this destruction of Jerusalem, saw that the date didn't match up with what I had been taught my whole life, did some additional research, found out that the date that I had been taught my whole life was crap, and it wasn't historically accurate.
Yeah.
And hence, because the date is wrong, it changes all of these prophecies. It changes the dates on everything.
Right.
And so that right there, that proved it to me that it was all just garbage. But you can't ask someone about that. They won't talk to you about that. Mm-hmm. It's considered apostasy or heresy or whatever, So you got to either toe the line and keep your mouth shut, or you're out.
That's I don't want to say that's necessarily how it was for me. I went to a Catholic school from 4th grade to 8th grade, and my sister went from 3rd grade to 8th grade, and then we went to a public high school, or I like to call it a real life high school, because I got introduced to real life right away when I went to high school. But even those 4 years that I was there, I mean, it was just pounded in my skull, this religion. And it's not like my family was really religious. My mom, actually, she wanted us to go to this Catholic school because she just wanted us to get a decent education, which is sad that you have to go a religious route in order to, or private school, which are mostly religious schools, to get a very formal education. But and I'm not saying all public schools are bad, and there's some that I'm sure are great, but in our case, in this neighborhood, they're not the greatest. But anyway, I never read the Bible fully through. I mean, it was about a couple years in that, even then, me being that young, I was like, I feel so forced into this. I know that it's a Catholic school, but I feel so forced into believing this thing that I'm not convinced, I guess, yet about this. And we would go to church every Tuesday and Sunday, and or it was like Tuesday and Thursday. During the week we would go to church, and I just never caught on to it, even with a communion and a baptism and all this. For me, growing up to and being an adult now, and I'm sorry if I offend anybody, out there, but for me, learning about all these other different religions that were out there and are out there, I believe in being a good person. I believe that deep down, right? It's as simple to me as that for your body, that you grab a handful of M&Ms, instinctually that you should not have that handful of M&Ms and put them in your mouth. I feel like it's the same thing. Like you instinctually know the good from bad, right? Mm-hmm. You know what you should be doing, and I don't think one religion is better or more correct than the other. I feel like all are very open to interpret, but are all based on the same thing, this higher being, and everybody else has to worship to, go to this place where no one has ever been before, because whoever goes there is dead. So, but I know that there's something after this, because I believe in ghosts and I've had a lot of experiences, but I don't know what that is, and I don't think anybody knows what that is. A lot of people die, and they're dead for 15 minutes, and they come back, and they're like, "Oh, I saw a light, and that was it." But I believe in aliens. I believe in beings. I believe in all kinds of stuff. But I believe in being a good person. And that is my number one. And I might not believe in a god or multiple gods, or I believe that people can become godlike, very in like a spiritual way. But I don't think there's necessarily a one set religion. This is it. This is all you need to know. Everybody else is wrong. There's too many other religions out there.
Yeah, and too many of them have similar beliefs and opposite beliefs. And if they're all saying they're right, not everybody can be right if those are the parameters. It just doesn't work that way, So obviously, I mean, to me, it's just man-made. It's all just man-made. And whether there's a God or not, to me, doesn't come into the picture with religion, because religion is a man-made institution, every single one of them. Yeah. I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
I agree. I think that there wasn't much to do back then, so I think that it was something to occupy time and a way to control people.
Well, I absolutely. I mean, my wife and I have a YouTube channel, and making people aware of things that I've learned and trying to help people the best. I don't want some other kid who's 13, 14, 15 to grow up until he's 35 like me before he cuts the ties, before he realizes that I've wasted my youth, I've wasted my life, you know. So we started a YouTube channel, and I've done so much research about so many religions and about this one in particular. And I've really come to the conclusion that, you know, in general, sometimes it's clear to see that it's man-made by certain rules. You can clearly say, no God would care about this or that. Come on, this
would
is a
stone
man
somebody
that
to death for wearing two different types of fabrics, and
yeah. I mean, things like that. They just seem, to me, ridiculous.
Stories,
you know. But that's just me. Some people base their life on that. You know, I would rather, just like you, I'd be a good person, try to be nice to everybody I meet, give people the benefit of the doubt, have some faith in your fellow man, you know, and try and be a good person, and that's it. But that's the extent of that for me, you know. Just that's where it starts and stops with religion now. I just can't. You know, nothing against people who are religious in any way, because I know there's a lot of paintball players out there that are, but it's just not. You know, I respectfully decline in being a part of any, because I just don't. I there's too much argument for me, not necessarily argument, but debate on the background of the belief, and there's just too many questions that are answered by, well, because God said so. You know, it just doesn't. That's not a satisfying answer to me. Right, and you know, do you know who Christopher Hitchens is?
Christopher. It sounds familiar.
He's passed away now. He's a writer and an author, and he had said he's got some amazing quotes about this stuff. But part of the thing that he really made clear in some of his statements were that, you know, first of all, no person, no human can know more than any other human. Kind of like what you said a minute ago. Like, there's certain things that people claim to know or claim to have secret knowledge. He's like, there's no secret knowledge. You can't know something that I can't. I mean, you may know something that I don't know, but you don't know something that I can't learn. Right. You know what I mean? It's all shared. And the whole thought of, man, I just lost my train of thought, bro. I was trying to catch it back up. Damn.
Well, even thinking about that, it's like, you know, I don't know. And what I think, you know, what Hitchens was maybe even talking about was, even everybody can learn, right? Everybody can learn something that they don't know, or that they, you know, haven't had in their life yet. They can, you know, attain or whatever. But, you know, I don't know what you've gone through. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what your thoughts are. You know, you may have tendencies that I can pick up on, but everybody is individual. Like, okay, that homeless guy over there, what is he thinking about every single day? You know, what are his beliefs? Nobody knows, but everybody assumes so much as well. You know, there's so much assumption out there too, that, you know, well, you know, if you don't believe in God, then you must be part of Satan. You must worship Satan or something like that. It's like, whoa, and, or you're an atheist, or you know, I don't even want to call myself an atheist, because I believe that there's something out there. I've had not necessarily interactions, but I've had instances where I cannot explain what happened. I don't know if you believe in ghosts or anything, but I watch Ghost Adventures. I played with a Ouija board before, and I feel things, and it's weird things are connected to me.
My wife and I were recording EVPs in this haunted house that we were in before and stuff. So I don't know what I believe about that stuff. There's definitely things out there you can't explain. I can't explain.
Right.
Do I think it's a disembodied human soul? I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't have an answer. I think it's cool. I think it's super cool, but I don't have an answer. I don't even have like a real theory about it, to be honest with you. I don't have any theory about that, because I kind of believe once you're dead, you're dead. So I don't know. But I believe in that other stuff too. So it's kind of a conundrum.
But it's like, what is dead? You know, is dead your body ceasing to exist? But what happens to that energy or that consciousness? You know what I mean? There's nobody knows. And even the guys that I watch, and guys and women that I watch that do the paranormal stuff, they always say, well, this is this and this is this, and they don't know. They're not 100%. They might think they're 100% convinced, but unless you are on the other side, you don't know that.
Yeah.
But I think that is the most intriguing part of that, is nobody really knows. And I think that's what's the most frustrating part about religions, especially Jehovah Witnesses, who are trying to bring you into the community, which is weird, which I feel is such a contradiction to what you were talking about, because they want you to be antisocial with anybody who isn't a witness, but they want to go out and recruit people to bring them in. But I can't do it.
Yeah, no. Well, that's one of the signs too about it, of that religion is actually a cult. I mean, they separate themselves from society. It's an us versus them mentality. And that's one of the sure signs. That's one of them. And they have all of them. Pretty much every there's lists and lists of identifying characteristics of cults that you can just Google it. Identifying characteristics of a cult. Yeah. And if somebody who was a Jehovah's Witness just Googled that and looked at it, they'd go, "Oh crap, that's me. That's us." Because it fits. All fits.
But the recognition wouldn't be there, because they would
no.
There would be a reasoning for it.
It's a cognitive dissonance. Their deep mental brain part, the thinking part that's deep down inside, may recognize that there's a problem, but their body and they just can't do it, and the two fight against each other. It's really tough.
So going back to you, I mean, do you feel that you weren't, because of paintball, you weren't fully, I'll say, brainwashed into being under that whole cloud?
No, I was brainwashed, dude. I was totally brainwashed, because even at that time when I was playing paintball, it's not just that I was playing paintball. Like, let's just say I knew I was doing something I shouldn't be doing, but I didn't care, because playing paintball was more important than doing the right thing, but still, it was the way that you think hadn't changed. The way that I thought hadn't changed. My thought processes hadn't changed. And all of those thought processes are molded from birth. I was, and I've talked to some people that I know now, and I said, you met me 10 years ago, you probably wouldn't have liked me. I was a real judgmental prick. And it's the way that you're trained to think. And you do, for me personally, I was a person who would jump to a snap judgment about somebody, or I would be, I don't know. I was just a dick, man. I don't even know what to tell you. I was a real judgmental person. No one ever met my expectations about how they should be, how anything should be. And it was just a bad way to go through life, man. Just a real crap way to go through life.
Well, it sounds like it's terrible that it took you that 35 years to be able to break free from it. And I think what it sounds like is it's just something, being born into it, it's learning that religion and being a part of it is just like learning how to walk and learning how to talk. I mean, it's just a part of, learning how to be a part of that group.
Yeah, and I think people who've never, I know if you've never been in a situation like that, it's probably really impossible for people to truly understand the scope of control. But just imagine if you have a kid, and from infancy you said to your kid, "Hey, I don't care what anyone ever tells you. The grass is blue and the sky is green. They're all wrong. They're all lying." You could teach your kid that, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 5-year-old. By the time you got into school and had to learn their colors, what do you think is going to happen? The kid's going to believe the parent. Their kids are genetically and biological, they have to listen to parents. It's part of the biological imperative that keeps them alive.
That's their environment for a lot of the beginning of their life.
Yeah, and so you can really mess people up by telling them up is down, left is right. You've got to trust me. Other people are liars. Just in general like that. And that's what it's like. Everything that you had been taught, you kind of have to relearn it. You kind of have to experience the world for yourself and go, oh, this isn't like I was told it is. Or, oh, I met a bunch of people and they were actually nice and they weren't trying to rip me off and they're not Satan worshipers and, whatever crap it is.
But if you don't give anybody the chance, then you wouldn't see it any other way.
Right. And that's breaking the rules, man. Breaking the rules to give people chances and do things and make friends and all of that stuff. So that was the real problem, because I was making friends in paintball and didn't have real friends that were Jehovah's Witnesses. Not really, anyway, one or two, but nobody who was interested in playing paintball. So
did they did your religion at the time, when they knew that you were playing paintball, did they try and have you, while you're playing paintball, recruit people at the field?
No, they didn't want me to be anywhere near that, anywhere around that. I could have probably used that as some kind of a mechanism to say, look, I'm going there to meet people, to find, other potential Jehovah's Witnesses. That's something I didn't think of at the time. No, I might have been able to swing something with that one. But no, it was the whole having a gun, and it was just total misinterpretation,
Yeah. See, I get the whole, because I've been trying to do it more and more when I'm explaining paintball to people, is I'm trying not to use the word gun because it's such a flair word with people. Gun, it just sounds whatever to the uneducated person. It's this horrible thing. But I've been trying to say marker more and more. And
it just doesn't roll out though, right? It's so hard to make that seem like the right word to me. I mean, I say it too when I'm talking to certain people when I can remember, and it just never seems right no matter how many times I say it.
Yeah. I have consciously tried to say it more and more around parents of kids who are starting to play or something like that, just to kind of get them into this cult of paintball, kind of thing. But so when you were playing paintball and they weren't liking it or anything, were you doing any other kind of other, not necessarily sport, but any other kind of community thing outside of the religion?
No, man, that was it for me. That was my life. Paintball, work, family responsibilities. I didn't really have a lot going on. I didn't really have a big social life ever. I was super shy, introverted. I still am to a certain extent. But no, I wasn't really an outgoing type of person. I didn't have a lot of other things going on besides a very select few things.
Do you think that was due to the religion, or do you think that's just kind of who you were biologically, I guess?
I think because I did want to play sports when I was younger, I think that the religion maybe was definitely just responsible for limiting maybe my wanting to do other things. Like I wanted to play baseball in high school. Obviously not bad enough to really go out and do it, but stuff like that. And maybe not being a part of a team sport was that at that time that was probably specifically because of the religion. But I don't know. I mean, my personality at the time, I was shy too. I'm not quite sure. It's hard to look back and see how much goes one way or the other. I just have such a different way of looking at things now. It's kind of hard to remember some of those details.
So what is it? So what was it like when you finally did cut ties and you started playing paintball more often? I mean, was the transition into the non-religious life, was it life altering for you?
Yeah, it was good. That was the first year. Well, part of the reason for just completely jetting from the religion is because I wanted to play national events, and we were playing in the NPPL, and I had my own team, and we were traveling and playing 7-man. So it was really, that was the life that I wanted. That was the life I wanted to live. I was having fun with friends and for the first time being part of a team, which I had never done before. So yeah, it's just at that point, I didn't really see any way back. That was the life and also in 2007 is when I learned that the religion was false, or certain things I knew about it were false.
Yeah.
So at that point, I didn't ever look back. I didn't have a real question of whether I was doing the right thing. I felt pretty free at that point to pursue what I wanted to pursue, which was paintball.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome that paintball was your awakening.
Yeah, I mean, if I hadn't gotten so pressured about that, I don't know where I would have. I mean, I don't think I would still be at this point now. I don't think I would still be a Jehovah's Witness, but that certainly did it. Like, I just couldn't have it, man. They were sitting here telling me how bad paintball is, and I'm saying, no, it's like the greatest thing ever. You don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I got bit by the bug hard, man. I've never had that kind of a rush, that much fun. It was unlike anything for me. Well, instantly hooked.
I think that article that you forwarded to me that was given to you completely shows that paintball has such a false representation to someone who doesn't know anything about it. It's and just sees it for it's war. And for everybody listening, it's this article was just explaining paintball like it was just straight war, and it was encouraging violence and
red paint that looks like blood.
Yeah, all it is red paint that looks like blood, and it's telling people to go out and kill, and it's saying it referred to a quote from a psychologist saying that it was that people who play this sport should seek help, pretty much. I laughed to myself when I read that. I was like, Jesus.
It's almost like they expect you to come off the field with a string of ears around your neck from the people you shot or something. God. It's nuts, man.
Well, and this is from, you said 89, so this is paintball in its infancy.
Right.
And so it was probably a little bit more warlike than what it is now. And, it's...
But even then... You got to think it's just capture the flag. It's tag. It's capture the flag.
It's
sure,
checkers.
They're shooting each other with paintball guns, but you can call it war all day, but you can call football war. You can call chess, the actual game of chess. You can call it war.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. It's a strategy game, just like paintball is a strategy game. Mm-hmm. And a lot of I think that's the thing that's hardest for people who first come into paintball to realize. Paintball is a game of strategy. The smartest players win. The teams with the coolest, calmest, most collected thought processes win. It's a game of brains. It's a game of smarts. Sure, it's always great to have the fastest guy get to the snake on the break or whatever, but man, the smart teams usually the teams you see winning them. The smartest 100%. Teams.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. There's times my legs have gotten me out of a certain situation, but what you have up top is definitely way more useful than any kind of physical skill. You might be able to snap shoot the fastest, but if you make that snapshot at the wrong time and make that wrong decision, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Matt Marshall used to always say, you got to be clutch. You got to be clutch, man. Are you the guy that's going to stay alive and close the game and win the point? Or are you the guy that's just going to freak out and lose your stuff and get shot out of your bunker? It's smart.
There is roles. I mean, there are roles on the team. Sometimes you have to make those sacrifices. As we all know, if a guy is in a spot doing damage and you have the opportunity to go get him out of there, but you're going to get shot too. Sometimes it's just kind of one of those things that that once you play, you know what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So how did this business of making headbands and headgear come about after playing the sport for so long? Like what kind of threw you into that whole aspect?
I was making headbands in 2006, but just for myself and for my teammates, and nothing serious at all. But when Sandana went out of business and stayed out of business this time, like in 2014, I was talking to the dude from Sandana about getting some custom stuff made for my team. And I was reading reports online, and look, I don't mean to say anything bad about Sandana, because the dude has built an incredible brand, but he's not making money on that brand. All the money is in the secondary market. So Sandana is gone. And, it was the only company around that was making real fabric headbands out of real, sturdy cotton fabrics.
Yeah,
and
canvas almost material.
Yeah, and heavy denim and things like that. And nobody stepped in to fill the slot. And in 2014, at the end of 2014 is I think when Sandana was kind of closing up shop. And 2015 went by, and I said, there's no Sandanas anymore? Like, really? Nothing's happening? Nobody's making other Sandana headbands? So in 2016, I started looking into it, and sure enough, nobody had stepped in to fill the void. And I said, well, hell, I'll do it. I have ideas. I know what paintball players like. I've been around paintball for a million years. Plus, I got things I'd like to make. I'm kind of artsy or whatever. I want to try things and see how they look.
You want to create things.
I like doing that. I like making things. So I just saw that there was a real vacuum in the market. Like I was really stunned. Nobody else had come in and started really doing these handmade things, because for as cool as so many of the pieces are, companies that mass produce jerseys and make headbands and stuff that go with them, it's all that dye sublimated kind of fabric, which is the stretchy, thin. It just doesn't have the feel or the look of the
printed,
classic the classic paintball style is what will never go away. And I think it was missing there for a while. So my whole goal was just to kind of bring it back and to fill that hole in the market, to offer players. See, because the other thing was, if you wanted a Flying Skulls Sandana headband, you had a couple of options. You could get like a 3-piece headband or something from like Midwest for $150. You could find a used Sandana one online for $500, or you could find some dude that had a brand new one for $1,000.
Boggled my mind when I came back to the sport and saw Sandanas and everything going for that. I'm like, it's headgear, people. This isn't a marker. This is headgear.
Right. I know. I couldn't believe it either.
And then I started looking for old headgear to try and sell, and I didn't have any more.
Yeah, I know. I sold so many old Sandanas for like $20, gave them to kids in 2007. I just didn't care. I didn't wear them. Now you could take the ugliest, crappiest Sandana and sell it for $200. It's ridiculous. But I just thought it's a shame. There's a lot of people out there who can't afford a $200 Sandana. And what else are they going to buy for under $50? That's cool. I wanted to fill that spot. So
the demand was there.
I think so. I think the demand is I don't think the demand for that will ever go away. As long as you make a good product and you offer quality, you'll always have customers in some way. So, but that was really it, just to fill the space and maybe help me pay for paintball a little bit, see what I could do.
Yeah. I mean, anything helps. We all know this, nothing's free. And everything costs something, whether it's if you're like you and I, we have something going on where we're collaborating with the actually I'll get one of these right here. If you're watching, these are the pack bands that we're collaborating on, and I've had nothing but positive feedback from these things. Everybody's saying that how durable they are, and I think this one's my favorite already. It's plain. Oh, yeah, you like it. I think I might sport this one next year. But it's just something silly like this. It's just a pack band, but having your logo on it, and then this being something that I've been doing for a long time, it has some kind of meaning to me, and but then on top of that, you're making headgear that I like, which is the heavy duty rugged stuff, and the headbands are great quality, and that's why I enjoy being able to do this stuff with you, is because I like the product myself. So I think you're doing a great job with it.
Well, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's people have asked me. I've had quite a few people ask me in Canada and in Europe about distribution. Hey, we would like to carry your product. And man, I'm just one dude with with a sewing machine. Like the idea is great, to boom, make a big company. But my biggest fear is that if I let it get too big, I won't be able to control the quality. And that's
right.
And it's not my career. I've got an established business, an established career, and I want to do it and keep it fun for me to keep doing it. Because if it stops being fun to sit down and make a cool headband, then I won't do it anymore.
Yeah. What's the use in doing it?
Yeah. So for me, that's really what it's about. So to think about having to fill large orders and make bulk orders. And that's the other thing. I don't want to make 100 of the same thing. Mm-hmm. I would be bored to death. I rarely make 2 of the same thing.
You would be a slave in your own sweatshop, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. So that, so no, for me, it's got to stay fun or I won't do it anymore. And I have to stay thinking of new things. If I get to a point where there's just nothing new to do and there's no cool new fabrics, and then maybe that's the end of it, but I'm far from there.
I like that one behind you that it's like the red with the green and I like that one. That was pretty slick.
This is urban camo.
I like that.
I actually have one of these that I made for myself when I first got this fabric. I really like it. It's pretty sweet.
See, and I'm a big fan of old fabric like that, and I don't really like the sublimation too much, like in the printed and the crazy graphics and this and that. Like as you can tell with working with me already, I like things very simple and plain and not necessarily basic, but just I have my ways of the things that I like the way they look, and nothing too crazy and loud, but just kind of me.
Yeah. Well, up until I started this company, I had worn the same headgear since 2003. So, like literally until I just ripped a hole in my old bandana, the mesh on the top. Like I saw yours, it looks like it got shot with a shotgun.
Oh my God. And that's not saying I get shot in the head a lot. It's just I've had it for a long time. And I have a bunch of this is my old this is the monkey with a gun one that Pat Spohr made, and I have an old Sandana one there, and then I have a couple back there. But I've gone through some headbands, but I've worn some for a very long time as well.
Yeah,
they get beat up.
I kind of like to just keep the same thing. I'm a creature of habit. Maybe I get one thing that I like, and I'll run it into the ground. So as many things as I've made things for myself, and I go, do I want to wear that? I'm like, nah, I'll put on my old one. And that's what I do every single time.
Yeah,
so
it's got to rip and literally fall off my head in order for me to switch into something.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So how did the name come about? How did Charm City, the name start?
Well, when we started, I was talking to a buddy of mine who's from Maryland. He's from that area. The Charm City area. That's just a nickname for the Maryland. Man, my brain is just not with it.
That's all right.
For that area, and either way, I was talking to him on the phone and looking for names, and I said, hit me up with some just some slang names. I said, what was the area where you lived? I said, what are some slang names for that? What do people call it? And he named off a couple of things, and he said Charm City, and I was like, oh, that's it. I knew instantaneously that was it. Nice. It just had a ring to it, just instantaneously done. So that was it. That was it. First choice, first the minute I heard it, knew it.
Nice.
Hey,
it works, man. Whatever. I mean, that's how with anything, like with me trying to figure out a name for my podcast, I was just just throwing out names and just trying to think of stuff. And when I said playing on and the Playing On podcast, I was like, that kind of rolls off the tongue pretty good.
Yeah, it is really good. That's a great name. POP, Playing On Podcasts, easy to remember.
There you
Perfect. Perfect. There was something I was going to ask you about that you mentioned in one of your most recent podcasts. You had said something about wanting to start Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I actually, it's so funny because I was looking into that too, and I've actually signed up to take my first class after the beginning of the year. But what made you start thinking about doing that? Yeah, it's so funny because me and my buddy from the team are going to go do it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was in martial arts when I was younger, and we lived in Toledo, and then we I was really young. I was probably like maybe 7 or 8, and I was kind of, I forget what belt I was, but I was kind of coming up through the ranks in karate, and I liked the atmosphere and everything. And then we moved away, and there wasn't a dojo or anything or a class or an academy anywhere near when I lived in Kentucky. And I kind of fell out of it and moved back, never really got into it. When we moved back, I kind of, fell into baseball, soccer, football. But I've always been intrigued by combats, like martial arts themselves, and MMA came around. I really wanted to do that, but I just couldn't afford with, starting to play paintball and everything else. I didn't really have time for it. And then I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he always has Eddie Bravo on. And the more and more I listened to it, I was like, man, it sounds like just how they were explaining it. How it's just this personal struggle against another human being of trying to choke each other out, and trying to survive in this. It's almost like paintball, where it's very strategic and making these moves and these smart moves and trying to get around this puzzle of a obstacle, this person. But it really, really intrigued me, and I was like, man, I was asking around about different academies and looking at places, and I was like, I'm really getting super, super interested in this, and I think beginning of the year I'm gonna sign up for an academy and start it.
Are you gonna look for like a 10th Planet place, like one of Eddie Bravo's places, or Gracie? Or
from what I've seen, there isn't any. There's just a few different Brazilian jiu-jitsu places around, and a lot of them are actually gi and no gi. So I'm debating on which one I want to do. There's more classes during the week for a gi, but I'm actually going to be starting a swimming lesson class with my almost 2-year-old son, and that's going to be a few other days a week. So I'm thinking more of the direction of no gi, because I think that's just one day a week. But I could go to the other classes if I want to. So I think I'm going more in that direction.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm interested to see how that's going to turn out as well. I'm really curious. I like the idea of competing and not just working out, but like competing to work out and not just lifting weights or running or whatever. It's boring.
Oh my God. See, that's the thing for me is like if I'm going to, I tried it. I tried to do the whole running every day thing. I tried to do the going, working out every day thing, and it's just not. I like to do the what word am I trying to look for? The conditioning kind of working out, where you're doing something with your entire body physically, but you're trying to figure this thing out, and I think jiu-jitsu just falls into that whole perspective. And thinking about it more and more, I think that's the direction that I want to go, just because I'm not a gym rat. I'm not somebody to go and just lift weights every single day. I'm not somebody to wake up at 5 a.m. and go run or anything. I just can't. It's not me.
Right. But yeah, I'm the same way. A few years ago, I was doing Bikram yoga for a little while, like for the better part of a year, and I thought that was really good. I've often thought that I should get back into it, because you take classes and it kicks your ass, man. 90-minute class, and it's just like boom.
So underrated.
But
yoga.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah, I felt, and when I was doing that like a lot, I felt great, man, just great. But it's just one of those things to make time for it. But something like that works better. Like you said, not a gym person. Just
do you meditate?
Can't do it. I am not regular at that at all. I have before, but I'm not in the practice of doing that now. Actually went to a Buddhist meditation thing with a friend of mine one time, just to see what that was like. And it's just the silent meditation. I guess, what do they call it? It's like a guided meditation. There's breaks in between. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
Is that something that you do?
I've been doing it more often. I did it there for a while, and then I kind of got out of the routine. I'm slowly starting to bring it back in. But I use this app called Headspace, and I just do it. I wake up in the morning, and I think it's just like a 10-minute thing. Just sit down and like you realize, I think because everything nowadays is so busy and everybody's so running here and there, and no one has time for anything. But I think once you wake up that extra 10 minutes to sit down in silence just for yourself, and you realize how much time you actually do have once you set that time aside.
Mm-hmm.
It's been helping me out.
Yeah. Do you find that it helps you think more clearly and things like that throughout the day when you meditate?
Yeah, I think the decision making, even when it comes to meals and eating right and just making the right decisions in general, I think come a lot easier. Once you're a little bit more focused during the day with it, especially in the morning.
Huh, that's very cool. Yeah, it's not something that I'm in the practice of, but I know people who have talked a lot about that, about making time for that.
I've been wanting to do the yoga thing like you were talking about, but I want to get into a very strict like stretching routine in the morning too, because that's one of my goals that I've been trying to do too, is become a lot more flexible, just to be able to contort my body in a little bit further ways than somebody else, to be able to maybe move around a bunker, or just in general in life to be able to just, if need be, I'm not so limited and stiff and I can't do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny, it was like on Joe Rogan, they were just talking about that on one of the shows. It's like once you start losing your flexibility, once you stop becoming active, it's super hard to like get it back. The best way to stay, flexible and so is to stay active. Keep it. Don't let it get to the point where you have to like get it back. Just keep it going, as best you can.
Yeah. Have you heard of this? Have you heard of combat jiu-jitsu?
I just heard them talking about that today. I was listening to the podcast. I heard them talking about it.
Yeah, and then I was watching it, and I was like, I didn't know this was a thing at all.
No, I'm. Are you into MMA at all? You watch UFC and stuff. Are you into that kind of thing?
I'm not a regular, but I watch here and there.
Okay. Yeah, you got a champ in Ohio, man.
Yeah,
Stipe, heavyweight.
Yeah, I just listened to that podcast. He's like from the Cleveland area, I think. Cleveland or Columbus area.
Yeah, that dude seems super cool, man.
He's gonna fight that big black dude next. That guy who just ran over that
Francis Ngannou. The guy is, dude. I love Stipe, but I don't know, man. That guy is something else. He's like a robot from the future. He's like a Terminator from the future. That guy.
See, I don't know. I like matchups like that because Stipe is super humble. And from what it sounds like, a very hard worker. And I think, even against a guy like that, Ngannou, who's just a monster, has a button somewhere, And if he just catches them in a certain way, I mean, it's, and it's just like jiu-jitsu. I mean, it's strategy. It's being able to work your opponent. If it's leg kicks to the knee or to the shin or the thigh, and working that, it's watching tape and seeing what his tendencies are, and it's homework. It's doing what's behind the scenes.
I've actually found a real correlation between paintball and fight philosophy. And as I started getting into MMA a few years ago, I started becoming really interested in boxing and all kinds of combat sports that, as a Jehovah's Witness, I was never allowed to watch anyway. So, it was all new to me. I never really watched boxing before. I never watched MMA before. Always thought that I would completely hate it because it's just, it's totally gory and violent.
Violence, yeah.
But I knew nothing of the strategy of it. And now watching a boxing match or something that people are like, it's boring. I'm like, man, you don't understand what's going on. There's a strategy happening here. It's really interesting. I think once, fight philosophy is so much about like timing. Timing in paintball is so key. People have a real tendency to make snapshots and keep coming out at the same time or in the same spot. And an experienced person picks up on that immediately. He's like, oh, this guy came out there. He's going to come out there again. I'm just going to shoot him in the face.
Yeah. It's being unpredictable.
Discerning patterns and being able to read your opponent. There's so many things about fight philosophy that correlate with paintball that I find that it all kind of goes together, for me.
Well, it's all an elimination game, right? Either fight or what we're doing in paintball. It's trying to eliminate your opponent before you do. So in fight, you're trying to eliminate that opponent by finding his button, by working the body or whatever. It's finding those open areas. In jiu-jitsu, it's finding that opening for an armbar or whatever. So
yeah. The thing that I noticed and you can probably, you would probably be able to relate to this as well, because you've certainly been around a million paintball tournaments. And I said this to the guys on the team, the guys who get really flustered, you're walking around in the pits on Friday or whatever, and you see guys screaming at each other in the pits and this and that, that team doesn't make it to the next day. They don't advance to the next round. When you're walking around on Sunday morning in the pits or something, people are calm. The teams are calm. And I said to myself, it's because they were calm, they got to this place.
Yeah.
They're not calm that they're here. They were calm all the way through. The people who couldn't keep it together are the ones who aren't here. Because, the minute you start getting amped up or out in your head and thinking too much, your decision-making processes go right out the window.
Yeah.
The minute you start feeling stress on your body, you start releasing these chemicals and stuff, you start making bad decisions, and you see teams doing that all the time. So for me, even like relating that type of philosophy from fighting to paintball or whatever, and just being able to see it on the field, you can tell, you can see people have it together because they're calm.
Yeah.
They're ready. They're calm, they're ready for whatever is going to come at them. They're prepared.
Yeah, they might be screaming on the inside, but they're not showing it.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of correlation there, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people get hyped up in different ways. Some listen to music, some need to walk away. Like I usually, take 5 minutes and go and just sit down and close my eyes and just kind of, live in the moment for a second, and then go do what I do, kind of a thing.
That's it.
Well, Mike, where can everybody find your headbands? Where can they find you at?
Well, as it is right now, you can find me on Facebook at Charm City Paintball, and I do have a web address, but I'm still working on the website, so nothing is up there yet. So for right now, just Facebook.
So if somebody wants to grab something for you, they can just go on your Facebook, check out what you have, and then like private message you or something like that and make it happen.
Yeah, so much of what I've got going on now is just custom made stuff that if you want something specific, you could just message me, or I post pictures on the Facebook page so people can take a look at some of the things that I've got, and if they want it, they could just tell me they want it, message me and say I'll take that. Done deal.
Awesome. Yeah, and then also everybody who's listening or watching, Mike has a Instagram page as well.
Indeed.
And same thing, Charm City Paintball.
Correct.
And and then also, I just want to go back to your YouTube channel with your wife, and that kind of goes over somebody or your Jehovah Witness kind of thing and how that happened and kind of bring people in.
Yeah, if there's anybody that's interested that wants to kind of check on that, the page is called What's Up Watchtower, and we're on YouTube, and we've got like 50-something videos online. Haven't made a video real recently, maybe a couple of months ago. But yeah, if you're just curious about that, or for all I know, there's a young person who's a Jehovah's Witness who loves playing paintball, who's watching this or going to hear this and is going through the same thing that I did. Who knows? Yeah. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me, they could just find me on Facebook or message me through Charm City. Anything. I love talking about that kind of stuff. If anybody wants to talk to me about religion, that's cool.
But yeah, that's what I'm really excited about is that you're out there trying to help people out and trying to bring light to this whole thing, and I think it's very cool of you and your wife to do that.
Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me, man, and having this conversation. And I'm super stoked about next year and the new things that you have coming out with, and maybe we can do some more collaborations. But thank you so much, and man, I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot, Carl. Take care, buddy.
All right, man. We'll see you. I thought that was a really interesting podcast. I really had a good time. I thought it was, really cool to kind of dive deep as much as we did into that whole religion and way of life, I guess you could say. It's nuts, man. I never really knew anybody that deep into something like that, being born and raised into the Jehovah Witness group, cult, whatever you want to call it. But I'm glad Mike got out alive, I guess you could say, and I think his life right now is for the better. I mean, seems like a very happy and charming dude. So thank you, Mike, again for sitting down and chit-chatting with me. Another kickback to our sponsors, Dr. Paintball, drpaintball.com. Again, they have new and used gear and all kinds of goodies over there. And if you type in "play on" at checkout, you will receive a free secret gift. I don't know what it is, so you have to order to figure it out. Also to Charm City Paintball, who has the best headgear in the game. Once again, Charm City Paintball. You can find him on Facebook as well as Instagram. Carbon Paintball has the newest line out, the CC line, as well as the SC line, but you can find all of that awesome gear at carbonpaintball.com. And if you type in capital TPOP, you will get 10% off your entire order. And if you guys have any questions at all, make sure you, about team sponsorship or individual sponsorship or anything, make sure you shoot me an email, carl@carbonpaintball.com, and we will hook you up. You or your team, it doesn't matter. We love everybody, so make sure you check it out. And last but not least, Planet Eclipse, who makes the best markers in the game, because I shoot them and I've been shooting them since day one, and I have been absolutely impressed every single year they come out with something. So big shout out to everyone over at the Planet Eclipse family. And I forgot to say this to everybody, happy holidays. I hope you had a great Christmas. I hope you have a great New Year. If you guys have any kind of questions at all, make sure you contact me on Facebook or Instagram, Carl Markowski. Just check it out. You can spell my name, Markowski. Super simple. I am hoping to have a website very, very soon. I am building it as we speak. It's going to be very simple. It's also going to be the podcast's website. And it's going to be super simple and nothing crazy. I've wanted one for a while. It's just tough to find time to actually build it. And I have something coming for the new year as well that I'm thinking about breaking out. And hopefully it's received well by the community. I'm really hoping it does well, and we'll see. I think everybody has a mindset about things, and I really want to take this podcast to the next level. I'm hoping to come out with multiple ones per week, and I think this will help the process. So thank you, each and every one of you guys, for listening, guys and gals. Thank you so much for listening. I really, really, really do appreciate it. And I will catch you again here soon next time on the Playing On Podcast. Peace.